Hey,
like
what's up,
scary
everybody? It's Adam Kitt and Noel Fielding coming to you with another great episode of the Real to Life podcast. Today, we have a really exciting topic for you. We're going to be covering the top five tips for buyers or home sellers in the last quarter of 2022, which is right now. And we're pretty excited to get into it. Huh, Noel?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a crazy time. I mean, right, once again, we enter yet another crazy time in the market, and being able to move fast, think on your feet, adjust, and have experienced agents help you know what to do is just critical.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this just a real quick, just glimpse of 2022 so far, right? I mean, you had the first 6.5, 7 months, arguably, of just kind of crazy, right? We had, hand over fist, buyers competing for one another, shivving each other in the streets, you know, and then, then the market shifted like almost overnight. And you had this rapid ascent of the interest rates, and since then we've had to start making some just major adjustments. All right, let's get into it real quick. We want to talk about first. We're going to talk about the top 5 tips for buyers right now in the market. And tip number 1, it's got to be number 1, is you got to get qualified or pre-qualified. If you want to buy a house, you need to speak to a lender, and that's always step number 1. Speak to a lender who's and we recommend a local mortgage broker over sometimes over like a big 5 bank or credit union. Although right now some of the local credit unions actually have a really amazing products, so don't just throw them out. But typically speaking, a mortgage broker is going to be your best bet because they have more options than everybody. They can shop and then get you the best deal. But yeah, getting qualified, knowing your buying power is really, really, really important with that lender as part of this number 1 tip. Get qualified, get pre-qualified with a lender, figure out how much you can afford at the rates they are today, and talk about all of the options that are out there for you from the lender side. And in terms of your lending options, there are all kinds of different programs. There's first-time homebuyer programs that can help you with down payment assistance. There are programs like a 2-1 buy down, which is kind of an old school trick or play that they would do, or they can actually, if you can get a seller credit, you can have a little bit of money set aside to buy down the first year rate by 2% and buy the second year down by 1%. So by the year 3, hopefully you'll be able to refinance into a lower interest rate and be just great.
Yeah, we had a great interview with Angel Santiago. We should put a link.
Yep, we'll link that below.
Yeah, and that's a great. Angel's a local lender who we love to use, and very experienced in problem solving types of loans, especially first time home buyers and down payment assistance things. And so these are some of the things you need to go out and find out about, especially if you were approved 6 months ago, a year ago, and you're now thinking, well, like a lot of people are, oh, because rates are higher, prices are going to nosedive, and I need to figure out where I'm at, and that's true. So go get updated.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and plug Angel real quick since we mentioned him. Here's his contact information. If you want to contact him directly, highly recommend him. He's a super trustworthy family man. He's going to treat you right. So highly recommend reaching out to Angel Santiago.
If you don't have a mortgage guy, right, call us. You know, and so I was, and I've mentioned it before, but I was a mortgage guy for almost 20 years. Before the crash, and I speak the language, and you can say I've only been on my job for this long, or I've been self-employed and now I'm this, or I was a student and I'm going to be able to help you recognize which way is best to go and send you off to a person. And we got no skin in the game other than your successful qualification. So
100%. All right, which leads us to tip number 2, Noel.
two.
Number two.
Number two. So this is one of my favorite things to advise anybody, whether to buy or sell, but have a notepad, write it down, because what's going to happen is you're going to lose track of things that were important questions to you. So you want to write down the questions, write down the answers, right? And cross them off as we uncover them for you. So, because you'll get into it, it gets very conversational, and it's very easy to lose track of whether we got that answered. What are the HOAs like, CCNRs, things like that?
Yep.
How old's the roof? Let's make sure we get them all answered for you.
Yeah, 100%. It's listen, inevitably you're going to have lots of questions along the way as through the process, whether it's about the specific house, about the process itself, what to expect, the timelines when you get into escrow. It's a pretty complicated process. We have all the answers, and we may have, spouted them off to you a time or two, but whether or not you remember, is another thing. So
Yep.
keeping that down, writing down the notes, and it's a very, 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 very good tip. Number 3, and this is not in any order of necessarily a priority, but hire or start to work with the best agent you can find.
Right.
As a buyer. It's something that most people don't realize is that as a buyer, no money changes hands when you hire a buyer's agent from the buyer itself. All of the commission is paid for a buyer's agent out of the seller's proceeds, out of the commission that the seller has agreed to with the listing agent. And so you have the liberty to take time and interview and hire to work with the best agent. Now, we won't get into this too much. We're actually going to be doing a more in-depth video podcast episode about this in more detail. But, a couple of things that I would look for in a really good agent. One, how much experience do they have working with buyers? 2, are they experienced enough to know most of the players in the game in town? And 3, do they have the time to work with you properly? So for Noel and I, as a rule, we only agree to take on 2 to 3 buyers at a time who are actively looking at buying a home, because we understand that our time with you as a buyer, it's a lot. It adds up to a lot of time. So we want to make sure that we have the time to dedicate and set aside for you and all of your needs as a buyer. And so having somebody who's going to have the time to devote to you is really, really important, as are a lot of the other things.
Yeah, and you know very well, I've made it clear how I feel about this, because the best, it's such a, it's kind
Super
of a
subjective.
thing.
Super
It can be
subjective.
easily confused with a brand name or some label. And a lot of times these people have big teams, okay? And they are saying, I was listening to one of them toot their own horn, and it was like, we did over 1,000 transactions. So you're basically last year. So he's taking credit for doing almost 100 transactions a month. There's not enough hours in the day to do 100 transactions in a month for a person, a normal person, not a robot, or even a team like us. So if you want if the best is someone that can dedicate some time to you, answer your questions, and you can count on it being that person and not getting buckshot off to some person that's never done a transaction before. And that's what they do on these teams. They have a lot of young people out there. So you're not going to get that, and they're not going to spend time. And they say, well, we're reviewing all their paperwork. No, they're not. They're 1,000 transactions. You can barely review that many 100 contract or 80 contracts in a month accurately. So don't be flim-flammed by shiny objects and look at the bird, right? They should be able to sit down with you, talk to you, answer your questions, and spend a lot of time with you, like we do with our clients.
Yep, 100%. And Noel and I have developed a lot of these lists of what we call best practices for our business. And one of our rules is always answer your phone, And now listen, there are times that we can't just because of whatever's going on, but 95% of the time we're answering the phone, even if it's labeled as spam, which happens a lot these days. I still answer it because it might not be.
You never know.
You never know. And so yeah, I take a lot of spam calls, but when you call, if I'm able to, I'm going to answer it no matter what. So
or else I'm calling you back.
Yeah. Shortly. Yeah.
I called an agent yesterday because we have a buyer that was ready to make an offer, had a question. They did not call me back or text me back after I texted them also. Not awesome. So
not awesome. Yeah. Not awesome.
Yeah.
All right. What's number 4?
Big 4. Number 4. I got to remember the camera's over. Even though I'm sitting in the middle of my camera. So know your wants and needs. And some of this goes hand in hand with your budget. And we used to joke, say, have 7 wants and needs, right? Really, your big items, then cross out 4 of them. Because at the end of the day, it's typically, it breaks down to your budget, right? That's kind of important to stick to. Your bedroom count, right? Bathroom count can be really, really an important thing to me. I don't want to get too far off. And bathroom count's an important thing. And location is probably a big thing. Am I close to a certain school district? Am I close to my church? I want to be close. I know my nephew is ideally looking for something that's within X amount of minutes to his and his fiance's work. So these are priorities that you can get down and prioritize yourself to death, right? And then it's finding a needle in a stack of needles. So that's a really important list of priorities.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. Your must-haves versus your wants, Must have 3 bedrooms minimum. Must have 2 full bathrooms, and both of them have to have a tub.
Yeah.
Or I have to have more natural light. If it doesn't have a skylight, Noel, if it doesn't have a skylight, I'm not buying it.
Well, I've told this story a bunch of times about my older brother, and he had a list of items. He wanted a craftsman. He wanted a pool. He wanted this and he wanted that. At the end of the day, he got none of those. He bought a completely different house in a completely different neighborhood, and none of those other things existed. So
Yep. Yeah, I would say that kind of along these lines of your must-haves and your wants. What Noel just said is an actual thing that happens, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. Now, if you've bought and sold houses before, you're probably refined your needs and wants pretty well, right? But if you're a first-time home buyer or maybe slightly inexperienced, maybe only bought one house, you'll be surprised at what you actually fall in love with.
Yeah.
Sometimes us as agents, we ask some really good questions, but we have an intuition about people that is oftentimes very, very true. And we'll end up showing you houses that may not necessarily fit your criteria, but I'd say 70% of the time when we hand pick out a house for you, you end up liking it, and for a lot of reasons. But anyway, that said,
listen, if we do that, that means we're doing our job well because we paid close attention. But you said something earlier about we only handle a few buyers at any given time. If some of those buyers are very experienced buyers and they're on their 4th, 5th, 6th home and they've been through the rodeo a few times, that our job gets wildly easier. And they go out and they're like, I'm like, oh, okay, so we're writing an offer on this house. Like, okay,
Yeah.
thanks for
Yeah.
keeping us in the
If
loop.
you do want to make our job easier, just go find the house you want to buy and then call us.
Yeah,
That's fine. We're okay with that.
yeah.
But
But
no,
you
most
know,
times we're in it for the long haul.
we've got those. We've talked about first-time home buyers.
Yep.
I literally talked to a first-time home buyer about a month ago, and they were like, yeah, we just don't know what comes next. And so I broke down those steps for them. So
Yeah.
it's important to be able to have an agent that can help you walk you through that process for sure.
All right. Am I doing number 5? I've lost
You
track.
are, you are.
Number 5. Top 5 tip
right.
for buyer for right now. Be aggressive. Be aggressive, but not ridiculous. So listen, it's very, very true that the market shifted a little bit. It's sellers are having to make adjustments on the listing price. Prices are coming down a little bit, so you have an opportunity to be a little aggressive with your offer, and don't be afraid of pushing the envelope a little bit, maybe. But don't have the mindset that you can come in and just lowball everything. When I say lowball, I mean, let's say a house is listed for $400,000. Just say, well, I'm going to offer them $300,000.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's not in the realm of reasonableness to think that somebody's going to give you a 25% discount on their house.
Well, right. It's way too premature to assume anything like that's going to happen. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. We spend a lot of time in research, seeing where the market's at. We read a lot of stuff from our peers and professionals in our industry, and it looks like we're going to stay at 4% appreciation, 4.5%, right? Which is not going backwards. And this is where the confusion lies, I think, is that people see homes that they came on the market with the expectation that we were shooting up still at that time, and it's kind of teetered back, and they're leveling way out, and they're coming back down to that 4%, and it's getting a little bit more reasonable. That's the truth, right? That's the truth about it. They're not. It's the earth hasn't fallen out from underneath us. Real estate is not going to be free. It's not even the same as the big recession. It's not. We're having an interest rate shift in order to combat inflation, and honestly, it's probably not going to last that long.
So hey, listen, we went a little longer than we expected to. So today we're only going to cover the 5 top tips for buyers in 2022. I hope it's been really, really informative. And, as always, we'd ask you to please like and subscribe. See our info down below. If any questions, you always feel free to reach out to us anytime. Call us. Get on our website. So you can search for homes right on our website, by the way, which is pretty cool service we offer. So
you bet. Have a happy Halloween. Be safe. Enjoy it. Your little ghosts and goblins out there. And we'll see you real soon.
And hey, by the way, don't forget to wish Noel a very happy birthday. Whoa. Happy birthday, Noel.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. And thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See you.